Hey everybody, how's it going? We're out here doing some content. I didn't have a chance to do any yesterday because we were quite busy. That's right, we were very busy. We had to take the car in for an oil change. That would be the modern commuter car, the Kia Forte. So that was due for an oil change. So we did that and that took a while. Yeah. And we finally got done with that, and then we had some other errands to run. And it was a nice day, but we got back home after 4 o'clock when we left the house about 10:20, 10:30. Yeah. Sorry about my neighbor's dogs. They're barking for no reason. I mean no reason. Yeah, they have a nice pit mix and then a little tiny dog, and the little tiny dog gets the big pit mix to, you know, open up and say something. Anyways, not going to yammer on about dogs that I can't control. I have one of my own and I can't control her worth nothing. It's okay, you're cute. Abby's over here just hanging out with me in the garage. She just wants to be near. I don't blame her. I like having her near too. She's a great little dog. Anyway, we're having a little EMP, early morning pipe, in the old 4S Dunhill, 1969. I love this pipe, even though it's, you know, later production. It's still just a natty, classic, timeless style. You know, I with other collector friends I have, they're very specific about the era of things they collect. And that's fine. That's their choice. That's their prerogative, and I don't fault them for that. But for me, sometimes if it has the right look, no matter when it was made, if it has the right look, you're still winning. This thing has the right look, and I love this thing. It's a featherweight pipe. It's very light, and it's very comfortable to hold and just to grip like this. It's so light, I don't even know it's there. Almost don't know it's there. It's just got the right length. It's a perfect pipe, really is. And I love the shell blast on this thing. It's just really, really good. It's just good. You know, it's a Dunhill. You can't go wrong. Anyways, we have something to share. We have two things. One thing, of course, you notice right off the bat, and it's this guy. It's my little wizard brass fount. But notice the globe? Yeah. It's a teal colored little wizard lock knob, patented 12/4/23. This lantern was made in 22, but this globe would date between 23 and, you know, whenever the last patent they did. I think they were still patenting these lock knob globes into the 40s. Anyway, this is a nice older globe with no fire in it. It looks more like a deep aqua teal color, but when you add the flame, then that adds more yellow to the color and it makes it more emerald green. So that's why it looks more emerald green on the camera, because I have it lit. Yeah. Anyways, it's a great piece. I love this little lantern. The patina on this thing, I mean, I've not touched it. The only thing I've done to it was polish the fount. And yeah, I started just to do a very mild cleanup of the fount, but then it wasn't coming out very even, so I just polished the whole thing and it looks a lot better now. Anyhow, this is a favorite lantern, and I don't burn it nearly enough, and I'm not burning it very long with this beautiful colored globe in it, because I don't want any risk of, you know, cancer. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to move this little guy to backstage. Yeah, that's right. This is giving me a bit of a struggle. I want to keep it going, but oh well. Anyways, I bought something on eBay. I didn't spend a whole lot of money. But it's different. It's something that's kind of on brand for the channel, but still a deviation from our, lantern sharing, even though we do have lanterns all around. We're going to deviate a little bit and share something that's a little different, that's on par with my favorite collectibles and stuff like that, and things that I collect. So here we have, in 1928, New York Central Lines paperweight. Watch it smoke. Is that cool? It smokes. No, it's just me. Anyways, it's a J3 Hudson 464 made by the American Locomotive Company, and this is a nice little paperweight that would have sat on the desk of a railroad president or someone in the offices of New York Central Lines. But the details are really good. Come on, focus. Focus! There we go. Not bad for this size. Not bad for this size at all. It's just handsome. The inscription says, "The Hudson type locomotive used in the 20th century service, built by American Locomotive Company for New York Central Lines." And what it's worth. There you go. Just leave it there so you can still see it. Yeah. For what it's worth, I've always had a thing for the Hudson type locomotive, especially those made by American Locomotive Company for New York Central. When I was just a little kid and I was really sick about trains, I saw, well, in a lot of film or cartoons or whatever of the 30s and 40s, that engine is definitely prominent. And Lionel made many models of the J3 or J-Class 464 Hudsons of the New York Central Lines. And they were very popular engines, rightfully so. They're beautiful. They're amazing. And they have just an elegance about them. Even though they're a non-streamlined locomotive, they just have a beautiful, elegant style about them. And I've always appreciated it. In my own humble opinion, there wasn't a more elegant and more iconic steam locomotive ever built. Of course I have favorites. Of course I love most or many American steam locomotives of the 1900s through the 1950s. But the J-Class Hudsons, that's it. I mean, that really truly is it for me. I mean, that is the standard. That is the gold standard for steam, in my humble opinion. They, of course, dressed them in streamlining by 1938-39, designed by industrial artist Henry Dreyfuss. And they're just beautiful trains. Even though the Dreyfuss design lasted, I think they kept the streamlining all the way up into like the late 40s, maybe early 50s. The 20th century soon was dieselized in the late 40s. So they didn't need to do that anymore, and they it was a high maintenance thing anyways. You had to remove all that armor plating. You had to undress the knight to get to the goods to maintain the locomotive. So it was extra work for the shop crews to maintain them. But the sad thing about the J-Class Hudsons is, I'm sure most of you railroad guys know, if you know anything about railroads of that era, you know one of the mortal sins that the New York Central ever committed was not sparing one. There is not one J-Class Hudson made by American Locomotive Company in the world. Not one exists. They were all lined up. They were all sold for scrap, and that's it. There are a few steam engines that do survive that were used by New York Central. I think maybe one or two, and they're not Hudsons. There is, was it a 410-2 or something like that, or is it was a Mikado or like a 282? I can't remember the configuration, but there is one in New York on display in a railroad museum, and from the front it looks like a J-Class Hudson because that was just the style New York Central used for a long time. but it's not a Hudson. No, not a Hudson. And New York Central really did a dirty by not even sparing one, not even putting one in a park, not sending one off to be preserved in a museum. The infamous world-class 20th Century Limited that we all know and love and appreciate is a ghost. 100% imagination. It doesn't, there's very few remnants of that grand train left in the world. There's a few passenger cars. There's some post-war streamlined passenger cars that are still lingering from the 20th century. And there's, of course, railroad china and different ephemera that you can collect that was once on that train. But when it comes to equipment and locomotives, very, very few. I think there's a few F units or E units that were spared with the streamlined gray, dark two-tone gray New York Central scheme, but I can't say for sure how authentic they are to pulling this 20th Century Limit. I don't know if they were acquired and then painted to resemble that in that livery. But anyways, this is rare. They're not, extinct. Those paperweights are not extinct, but they definitely don't come up often. And a local collector had it on his eBay, and I won it. I was the only bidder. Imagine my surprise. I didn't think I was going to win it. I put a proxy bid in there for it to be, bidding at the last minute, and I just kind of forgot about it because I knew, I was going to forget about it. The weekend comes, and I get busy with other things, and I'm not sitting on my phone or the computer watching eBay now. So, that being said, I set it up to bid automatically. Yeah. So I won it. So I sent the guy a message. His name's Eric. He's a local railroad collector, lantern collector. Just not even 5 minutes from my house. I met him once before, back in early 2020. No, it was late 2019. Sorry. He's one of the guys, one of the lantern guys, and he knows other guys that I know, and we all know each other for the most part. So that's cool. He's a good guy. And so I sent him a message like, hey, it's Rob. I'd love to just swing by and pick it up and give you cash. So we worked it out, and I just picked it up just this morning. And I love it. I love it. And, I wasn't really wanting to spend any money. I'm trying to really slow down on buying things, but when it's something like this for a very fair price, you just got to strike while the iron's hot. You really do. You really do. And I know one will show up for another while, and it's just pretty. And I love the Hudson. Now I can say I have a Hudson. Yeah. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. It's really neat. Yes, sir. It's just a handsome engine. And I believe it's either lead or pewter. It looks like there was some kind of plating on it at one time, maybe some kind of silver rub or something like that. But it's cool, 1928. Yep. 1928. So there is a film on YouTube you should check out. It's Flight of the Century, I think, and it was made in 1930, 31. It's early, and it's all about the New York Central Limited, 20th Century Limited. So it premieres. I mean, it displays very well the J-Class Hudson locomotive, and it goes through the whole series of how it's prepped for a train and how it's cleaned and how it's restocked between each service. And the cool thing about the 20th Century Limited was that it touted to take only 18 hours from New York to Chicago, which in that era, that was pretty quick. Before jet travel and our modern infrastructure, That's pretty fast for a steam train. For a steam engine to attain 100 miles an hour plus, it maintained that for most of the straightaways. Now, the fun thing about the 20th century is most people don't know this, but steam locomotives were not allowed within the city limits of Manhattan. So you had electric trains, locomotives, electric engines that would meet the train and pull it out of the station at Grand Central, and then it would go outside of the city limits and connect to a steam engine, which was a J-class Hudson. And then that would fly like the Dickens down all the way through, down by the Hudson Bay and everything, and the Hudson River, and just all the way down and take your train to Chicago in 18 hours. That was pretty fast. I mean, there was the big competitor with the New York Central lines was, of course, the Pennsylvania Railroad. So both of those were neck and neck for setting time and records and being the fastest. So most people that, they're novice, they're casual train buffs or whatever, or railroad buffs, whatever you want to call them. They look at steam engines and they think slow. That's because a lot of trains around locally or in the U.S., excursion trains don't fly at 100 miles an hour, even though they could be capable of at least 75, 80, but they go slow around the tracks and they entertain sightseeing trips, or rail fans, right? And that's fine. But people just make the misconception that a steam locomotive was designed to be slow. It's not true. They haul ass. They can. They were known for it. They could pull a house off its foundation if they were given the chance. They are very powerful machines. Very powerful machines. And that's why they didn't dieselize earlier, is because diesel electric wasn't really up to snuff until the 1940s, late 40s, early 50s. Then they started phasing out steam because the cost was more economical to run diesel than steam, and they were not nearly as heavy on maintenance as steam was. So at the point in the 50s, then that's when dieselization started to really take over. And a lot of rail fans are bitter because steam is sexy and exciting and fun and beautiful, and it's a living being. It really is like a living being. If you ever get a chance to be next to a live steam engine, full scale, it's an experience. A lot of people don't forget it. But anyways, I have my own little piece of New York Central heritage and history now in the Time Cave. So I'm very happy to have this. Thank you so much, Eric, for having this available, and I'm so glad to have it now. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys again on Monday, and we'll have things to share then as well. All right, have a nice one. Enjoy yourselves. And you'll see you next time. Bye-bye.